All right, section 3, subtracting integers. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to bounce around your notes a little bit. I like um, presenting it in a different order than what you see, but it'll all make sense. I absolutely promise. So we're going to start by modeling, and I'm going to start with some stuff that's not in your notes. Okay, so just watch for a second. Okay, subtract literally means to take away. When you learned that in elementary school, that's the easiest way to do this. Okay, so no matter what you start with, no matter what you're using, you're going to take away. Okay, so this means there's no sign in the front, so we're going to have 5 positives. Take away. Now, because this symbol is used as a takeaway, all you're left with is a 3, right? +5, take away +3. Okay, so what we have then is those 5 pluses, and we want to literally take away 3 of them. What are you left with? 2. Okay, started with a +1 because that's what you know. Now, what if you start with negatives? So I have 5 negatives, and they're right there. I want to take away 3 negatives. Okay, it's in parentheses to show that it's a -3 and not a subtract 3. Okay, so it's almost like it's boxing it for you. So I have 5 negatives, and I want to take away 3 negatives. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what are we left with? 2 negatives. Okay, I'll come back to how the math works. I'm just going to do modeling for right now. Okay, so no matter how many you start with or what you start with, you're going to take away what it tells you to. When you see it written, it looks really confusing. So -7 minus -3, because there's negatives everywhere, and those parentheses are necessary. Okay, but what it means, 7 negatives, and you're going to take away 3 negatives. Okay, I'm not going to draw the circles and stuff, but here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives, and I want to take away 3 negatives. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm left with 4 negatives. Okay, so draw it out at first if you have to. The problem is when you get big numbers, so we'll learn how to do it without drawing it here in just a minute. Okay, maybe you've already thought of this. What if you don't have enough to begin with when you need to take some away? Okay, so I'm starting with 3 positives, but I want to take away 5 positives. I only have 3. Okay, so here's your process. Start with this, 1, 2, 3, and take away 5 positives. So there's 1, 2, 3. I can't just put in 2 more and take them off. However, I can put in, sorry, it keeps moving. I can put in a 0 and another 0 because adding 0 to anything doesn't change it, right? Okay, actually, I'm going to put them down here. 0, 0. However, I'm going to change that 0 to a plus minus combination, a 0 pair. Okay, so plus minus. So I'm adding zeros by adding 1 positive and 1 negative, and now I have enough positives to cancel. What does that leave me with? 2 negatives. Yeah, how's that for weird? Trust me, we were going to do more. Okay, so next, start with 3 negatives. 1, 2, 3. We're going to take away 5 negatives, but I don't have 5. I only have 3. So now I have, Okay, there's 4 and 5. Okay, so you're just adding as many 0 pairs as you need. 1 plus 1 minus doesn't change this. 1 plus 1 minus doesn't change this. Okay, so for example, you have negative $3. Okay, so you're $3 in the hole. You owe somebody 3. Then you get one and you pay it off. You're still at negative 3. Then you get one and you pay it off. You're still at negative 3. Okay, nothing changed. If you're in an elevator, you go up a floor, down a floor. You're right where you started. Okay, temperature goes up a degree, drops a degree. It's right where you started. Okay, so 0 pairs don't change anything. You can add as many as you need. Okay, so now we're going to subtract the 5 negatives that now we can do. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're left with 2 positives. Okay, let's do one that's not already drawn out for you so you can see how it works. Okay, so negative 2 minus negative 6. Okay, I'm going to scroll. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm not even going to do changing colors. Okay, so here's a new problem down here. So we have 2 negatives. And from these 2 negatives, I want to take away 6 negatives, but I only have 2. So I'm going to do 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, so now we're going to take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives. Leaves me with a half of the 0 pairs because I canceled those other halves out. So it leaves me with a positive 4. Yeah, how's that for weird? Okay, it's actually kind of cool, I think. Okay, let's do one of these first ones again. How about 4 minus 7? So you start with 4 positives, and I want to take away 7 positives. So I don't have enough. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I have 3 negatives left. Okay, on this page, we're subtracting the same thing that we started with, right? Okay, but what if I do this? I start with negatives and I want to take away positives. Or I start with positives and I want to take away negatives. Okay, so from the left-hand side, start with 3 negatives and I want to take away, remember, here's your first number, second number, so it isolates your takeaway, right? So we want to take away 5 positives, and we don't have any. Okay, so I need to add in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives that I can now cross out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are now gone. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives left. Kind of fun. I know, I like weird things. Okay, how about negative 5 minus 2? So I have 5 negatives, and I want to subtract. See, subtract ends here, so these are positives. So I want to subtract 2 positives. I don't have any. So add 2 0 pairs so I can get 2 positives. Cancel the positive half out. So now I have 5, 6, 7, and they're negatives. Okay, last one on this page, and I'll add one extra. So here we go. Start with 5 positives, and you want to take away 3 negatives. There are none. So let's draw them in. So There's one negative as half of a zero pair, another negative as half of a zero pair, and the third negative as half of a zero pair. Cancel those out. So now I have the 5 positives I started with, 6, 7, 8. So 8 positives. Okay, let's do another one. How about 2 minus negative 4? I start with 2 pluses, 2 positives, and I want to take away 4 negatives, which I don't have. So I need to put in, whoops, change colors for some reason. I need to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 zero pairs so that I can cancel out those 4 negatives. And what I'm left with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. Okay, I know that looks really complicated, but it will work, I promise. Okay, so this part in your notes, just find it. I know it's not on the first page. Okay, this is what they have done, but you can't see what they've done. That's why I did those others first. Okay, started with negative 3, and then you wanted to take away 5. There were no positives, so they added 5 negative, or 5 negatives, 5 positives. So all of these cancel each other out. Those are zero pairs. And now I can take away the 5 positives, which leaves me with the original 3 negatives and 5 more negatives to give you negative 8. Okay? And once again, I am not going to use the open circles and closed circles because I can't remember. Obviously, you saw me mess it up. So I am going to do pluses and minuses. So these are positives, and I'm taking away more positives, right? So start with 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, sorry, I want to take away 7 positives. So I can take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I'm missing 2. So I need to draw in a zero pair. Okay, I'm going to do them in green so you can see. You can put them anywhere. So 1 plus, 1 minus. That's a zero pair. 1 plus, 1 minus. That's a zero pair. Now I have 7 that I can cancel out. So 1, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm left with 2 negatives. Okay? And I'm not going to worry about scenarios. You're fine. So basically, this was what we were doing back here, just in a different organizational method, right? Okay. I don't even like to write the loops, but that's what they like for some reason. So here we go. We're going to start with negatives, and we're going to take away negatives. Okay, so we're going to start with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we want to take away 3 of them. We don't need to add any because I have 3 I can take away. And my answer is negative 3. Looking at the math, that may not make sense. Just draw it out for now. I'll explain the math in a little bit. Okay, new one. Because they started with negative 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can see they added a zero pair to make it happen. But you can't really tell until you really tear it apart. Okay, so let's look at ours. We have positives, and we're going to take away negatives. So maybe you can see already that there's going to be a problem, right? Okay, so we have 2 positives. I have no negatives to take away. I need 4 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives that I can now take away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives. Try it again. 6 positives. I blew it. I'm not using circles. Okay, so drawing it out is the least mathematical, but those zero pairs are really important to see. Okay, so now the next part is number lines, and I have again have added a page that you don't see in your notes. Okay, so think that subtract means gets less. That's just making it logical instead of mathematical. Okay, so if you start at 3, and then it's going to get less positive. You start at negative 3, and it's going to get less negative. I know that sounds weird, but think about it this way. If your mom tells you to be less negative or to get less negative, what is she telling you to do? Is to be more positive, right? Okay, so having fewer negatives means you're actually going positive. And counter to that, what if we get less positive? Yep, that means getting negative, right? Okay. Hopefully none of your moms told you to do that. Okay, so let's look back up at the problem. We have a positive, take away a positive, so I want to get less positive. I'm actually going to go in the negative direction to go less positive. So I start at 0. I'm struggling with colors here because I like having them represent something, and I'm trying not to make them represent stuff that I've already used. So here we go. Okay, so the first number is always going to be pink. Okay, so we start at 0 and we're going to go 3, positive direction. Second number is always going to be teal. Okay, so we want to get less positive. In other words, we're going down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We end at negative 2. So that's your answer. And we did this problem, 3 minus 5, right there. Okay, 3 minus 5 was negative 2. And that's what we got again. So we must have done it right. Okay, so next one. First number is negative 3. Start at 0, 1, 2, 3 to the left is negatives. Okay, now I want to get less negative. In other words, getting less negative, I'm going to go positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I end up at positive 2. And once again, the math over here may not be making much sense. Okay, and again, I will explain it, and I'm sorry I'm not doing it yet. And we got 2 on that one, and we got 2 on this one. Okay, same thing, just done a couple different ways. Your answer will always be the same, just depends on the method you use to get to that answer. Okay, all right, so I'm not going to compare anymore. You can on your own if you want. So negative 3 is where we start. 1, 2, 3 to the left. And I want to get less positive. Okay, so I'm going to go negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I end up at 8 in the negative direction. So negative 8. Okay, next one. Start at 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And from 5, we're going to get less negative, which means we're going to go positive, right? Less negative is positive. 1, 2, 3. We end up at positive 8. Okay, now let's look at the ones in your notes. They didn't do much explanation, okay? So that's kind of what I was trying to do for you. Okay, so we went negative 2 to begin with, and then got less positive, so we went negative. Boom. We ended up at negative 4. Okay, so this one, start at negative 4. And they don't do individual bumps, they just do one great big one, but I like doing little guys. And I'm going to get less positive, which means I'm going to go negative. And I end up at -6. Okay, here's theirs with the wonky arrows. So let me get rid of those. And let's do it ourselves. Okay, so we're going to start at 2, 2 in the positive direction. And then we're going to get less positive because 5 is positive. So we're going to start at 2 and go to the left 5. So I end up at -3. Okay, so this is the +2, this is the -5. Okay, on this next one, you don't have any lines, so you can draw them in, but do we know where to start and what to do? Okay, to be safe rather than sorry, do a whole bunch of little lines. Once you know what to recognize, you won't need to do as many. Okay, my lines are not all the same size, but you get the idea. Okay, and I'm going to count by ones. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to go to +6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not even going to number anymore until I get to the answer. Okay, I want to take away 8. So that means get less positive. I'm going to go negative. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I ended up right here. Now I figure out what it is. It's 2 to the left of 0, so it's -2. Okay, having you draw your own number lines is kind of hard, but actually you're not going to be using number lines, I hope. So let's keep going here. All right, you got 4 to try on your own. So stop the video, try them in your notes, and then come back, okay? So what happens if you're drawing your number line here and you don't make it long enough because you didn't plan correctly? Then you just extend it. It is totally fine. Okay, I'm going to count by ones again. So -2, we start to the left 2, and then we're going to get less negative. In other words, positive. So we're going +5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we end. So now I figure out what it is. It's 1, 2, 3 in the positive direction. Okay, so +3. Okay, next one. And why these number lines are not the same size, I have no idea. Okay, so, and once again, if you don't make it big enough, we'll adjust that as we go. So I'm just going to get my lines in there, and we'll see what happens. Okay, counting by ones. So I need to go to +6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I want to get less negative, so I'm going positive. Okay, so I'm going to go positive one more. And I fit. Okay, so I can tell that I'm getting further away from 0, so I'm going to make it a bigger positive, right? 7. Okay, top of the next part. I tend to make my number lines pretty much similar all the time, so that's why I say just extend it if you need to. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive direction. Okay, now I'm getting less negative, in other words, positive. So 3 more. Ooh, I barely made it. Okay, so if this was 4 and then I went over 3 more, I'm just going to add and get 7, right? Okay, this one. Okay, so our first number is -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I want to get less negative. In other words, I'm going to get positive. So to the right, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if this is positive 4 and this is negative 7, can you see how we're going to be at negative 3, right? Okay, so we actually went down 3, so there's where we are. Yep, negative 3. Okay, hopefully you did really well on those. And once again, you're not going to be drawing number lines when you're computing your numbers moving forward. This is just helping you see what's happening. Okay, now I want to look at all 4 of these together. Okay, looking at this bottom one on the left and the top one on the right. Okay, we ended up with a positive and a positive. So you're continuing in the same direction, right? So we're adding. We start with a positive and a positive because these two make you go positive, so we're adding. Can you see what's happening here and here? 2 negatives. Didn't we talk about that before? Even number of negatives makes a positive. An even number of negatives makes a positive, right? Okay, it works on the other two too. It's just it was easier to see on these. Okay, so 2 negatives make a positive, and we moved in the right. 2 negatives make a positive, and we move to the right. Okay, this page, math is patterns. Okay, so once you figure out what the pattern is, then it makes life much more simplified. Okay, so and I have no idea what's going on with these wonky lines over here, but that's the file that I got online, so I'm sorry if yours has it too. What we're going to do is look for patterns, like it says. Okay, so the first pattern is 4 stays all the way down on every single line. Okay, subtract stays on every single line. Now 0, we're going to add 1, add 1, add 1, add 1, all the way down. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, so what is our pattern here? Minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. We're just going on a number line, down 1, down 1, down 1. So, not looking at this, what is down 1? Okay, so 1 minus 1 is 0. Let's just not look at the math. Let's just do the pattern. Go down 1 more, and we're at negative 1. Go down 1 more, and we're at negative 2. And I put that in the wrong place, didn't I? There we go. Okay, because on a number line, we started at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We went down 1 is 3, down 1 is 2, down 1 is 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. Okay, we were just going down the number line every time. Now let's look at this bottom one. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So we started with a positive number and we subtracted a positive number and we got a negative number because 6 is bigger than 4. We had to subtract more than we started with. Okay, now over here, equivalent addition problems. What they're getting at here is you can change subtract to add and then use the rules that we already know. Okay, because 4 add negative 1, if we start with 4 positives and we're having that race with 1 negative, who wins and how far? Positives by 3. Guess what? That's the same answer. Okay, so, whoops, I keep making it move. I apologize. So 4 plus what's going to go here in order to get a 2 as an answer? I need to get a 2 over here because they're equivalent. Okay, so what did we do? We went from a subtract to adding a negative. So let's try that. If we go from a subtract to add a negative, that means this should be negative 2. Does it work? Okay, start with 4, and we're going to race with 2 negatives. And sure enough, it works. I have 2 positives left. Okay, so the trick to this is you change this subtract sign to an add the negative sign. So 4 add negative 3. Start with 4 positives. We're going to race with 3 negatives. And we have 1 positive left. Yep. Okay, so just doing that switch, 4 plus negative 4. Changing this subtract to add a negative. I'm going to change this subtract to add a negative. And this one, same thing. Okay, so 4 add negative 5. 4 add negative 6. Okay, so, whoa, I missed. There we go. 4 positives and 4 negatives. They're all gone, right? So 0. 4 positives, 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 1 negative left. 4 positives, 6 negatives. I have 2 negatives left. Okay, but once I got to this second column, I could use our add rules. Signs are different, so you subtract and take the sign of the biggest. Signs are different, so you subtract and you take the sign of the biggest. Once I get down to the bottom one, signs are still different, so I subtract and I take sign of the biggest. Okay, so what you can learn here is changing subtract to add a negative. Okay, so can we make a rule for subtraction of integers? Let's just use that same thing that I just said. Change subtract to add a negative. Okay, now on the second chart though, we have a little bit of a change that needs to happen. Okay, so here it's a subtract, so add a negative 3. It's a subtract, so add negative 2. Next one is subtract, so we're going to add negative 1. I'm going to compute them here in a minute. Can I add negative 0? What is a negative 0? It's just 0, right? Okay, so now here, I'm going to change this to add, and now I'm going to do a negative negative 1. Okay, remember a negative negative, or the opposite of the opposite, is a positive, right? Okay, so what this is going to be is 4 add 1, because I'm changing this to add, and I'm going to do a negative negative, which means those two change to positive. So I'm just going to go like that. I make 4 add 1. So Add the negative of this, a negative negative 2 is a positive 2. Add a negative of this is a negative negative 3, so positive 3. Okay, so I don't like saying negative negative. Whoops, that's a plus. I don't like all of these extra symbols everywhere either, so I want to simplify it as much as possible. You literally can think that two negatives make a positive. That's totally fine. Okay, let's finish the answers here. 4 add negative 2 is 2. 4 add negative 1 is 3. 4 add 0 is 4. Can you see our pattern? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's why adding those two works. Okay, pattern over here. Looks like we're getting bigger, right? 1, 2 is this 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. Yep. So we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so instead of saying change subtract to add a negative, I'm going to say add the opposite, because that makes sense no matter which number you have. Okay? And this next section that we're going to go over shows that exactly, but let me do a couple right here while we're thinking about it. Okay? So 8 minus 3, if we do the rule that we just talked about, 8 minus 3 we know is 5, right? Okay, so we're going to change the subtract to add the opposite. Okay, so we're going to change this to add, but now what is the 3? If this is your symbol, 3 is positive, right? So we're going to change this to add, and now 3 is going to become negative. So 8 plus negative 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. Who wins and by how far? Positives by 5. You don't have to make an easy problem complicated. I just wanted to use an easy problem to show you that it works. Okay? What if I had 2 minus 5? We're going to change to add, change 5 to its opposite. 2 plus negative 5. So we have 2 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. The negatives win by 3. Okay, so the idea is change, subtract if you can't already do it because it was easy. Like 8 minus 3 was easy. You can do it. You don't need to change anything. But if you can't do it, then do those two changes right here. Okay, change it to add, change it to its opposite. Two changes in the middle. And we'll talk about that too in this section, which is actually subtracting. Okay, so subtraction is the inverse of addition, right? Because you undo add problems by subtracting and you undo subtract problems by adding. You check them, right? Okay, and it can be written like we just did on the other page. Okay, they just threw parentheses in. So we're going to change this subtract to add, and the opposite of 20 is negative 20. We're going to change this subtract to add. Opposite of 11 is positive 11. Okay, I wish they would have done them up and down instead, so I'm going to do a couple more. So negative 21 minus 30 is, the negative 21 stays, the subtract changes to add, and now I want a negative 30. Okay, if I had a negative 42 minus negative 28, the first one stays, and now you're going to change the second one to add and change the sign of the negative 28 to positive 28. Okay, what that does is this change to subtract to add the opposite. And this is what it looks like specifically without rewriting the problem. Okay, we're going to add the opposite. And on the other side over here now, we're going to add the opposite. Okay, you do a change, change. Two changes in between the numbers. First one never changes. The middle two are going to do your change. Okay, so here's your middle two. We're going to change this one and change this one. Okay, so let me show you again. 45 minus 60. Okay, you keep this one, change this, and change this. Okay, so we had a keep change flip before. Now we have a keep change change. Okay, what if I had negative 74 minus negative 12? Keep the first one, change it to add, change it to positive. Okay, that's just practicing changing signs. Now let's do some. It says rewrite each subtract as an equivalent add. Don't simplify. Okay, all we're going to do is that keep, change, change thing. Okay, so let's zoom in just a little bit so I can get all four of these on the same page. There we go. Okay, so we're going to keep this one, change that, which means negative 18 plus negative 43. That's all you need to do. Keep the first one, change the subtract to add, change the negative to positive. That's all you need to do. So basically, change this, change this. Okay, on C, keep the 33, change the subtract, change the negative. So we're going to add a positive. Last one, keep the 12, change the negative, and change the positive. So the negative is now an add, and the positive 51 is now negative 51. Okay, so change, change is what I say. There's all kinds of other phrases. Okay, so many, and use whichever one you're familiar with. I am going to say change, change, just because that's quicker, or I will say add the opposite. Okay, now it says to actually simplify. Okay, what they do over here on the right, going sideways, I don't like that either. I would prefer you do your math straight down the page. And when you get into higher math, they're going to require it. So just get used to it. If you run out of space, you can go to the right. But, okay, so I'm going to do it below so you can see how it lines up. Okay, so 19, we're going to change the subtract to add, change the 10 to positive, so I get 19 add 10. Boom. Okay, you don't even need to rewrite it. Okay, if I were to rewrite it on this next one, I get negative 24, change it to add, change it to positive. That's what they got, right? However, if you just do change, change, you're done. You can go from here to there. Okay, on the last one, change, change. So now you're doing 33, add negative 50. And you can see it right here without having to rewrite it again. If you want to rewrite it, be my guest. Okay, see if I can get all five of these on this page. Okay, so try these on your own. Stop the video, do them, come back. Okay, let's do A. If you chose to rewrite it, you would have gotten negative 18, change it to add, so that's this one. 13 is positive, so now we're going to change it to negative. And now, because these are both negatives, we are going to get a bigger negative, right? So we get negative 31. And like I said, I really do want you to go down the page instead of subtract or going sideways. Okay? But when it's subtract, you can just do change on the original, and that saves you one whole step of rewriting. Okay? Now we have a positive, add a positive, so we get a bigger positive, 48. Okay, next, you leave the negative 15 alone, change. So I have negative 15 add positive 5. So 15 negatives, 5 positives, cancel out some of the negatives, and it leaves me with 10 negatives. You subtract the two numbers, keep the sign of the biggest. Okay, keep the first one. Okay, I'm going to write this one out just for those of you who do. Keep the first one. Change this sign. 12 is positive, so now it's negative. Add those two up. Positive 8, so I have 8 positives, 12 negatives. The negatives win by 4. Okay, doing that the other way. We're going to change the subtract to add, change the sign of the 12 to a negative. Notice how we keep the 8, change, and then this one is, there's no changing after that because that's our number. The two changes that you do are in between the two numbers. Don't forget that. So now 8 add negative 12 should be negative 4. Yep. Keep the negative 6, change to subtract, change the negative 6 to a positive 6. A negative 6 plus its opposite is 0. Yep. Oh, I didn't get all of that line up at the top. Okay, this is what it looks like when you have three numbers. And if you had 4, you would just extend it one more step. Okay? So I'm not going to do theirs the way they did it. I'm going to do the way I want to do it. Okay, here we go. Negative 5. You never change the first one. It stays. That's a subtract. So I'm going to change it to add the opposite or change. Okay, now I'm done with the 7 and now here's a subtract. So I'm going to add the opposite. Two changes. So change in between two numbers. Change in between the two numbers. Okay, now what I would do is not necessarily what they did. I would combine the two negatives together and give me a negative 7. Bring down plus 7, and those are opposites. So you get 0. Okay, second one. Going across, we have 14. It stays. I have a subtract, so I need to change both of these. So change. 7 stays. And I have another subtract, so I have to add the opposite. Now they're all add, and I'm going to do the two positive ones is 21. Bring down the negative one, so add negative 8. As long as you write that negative high enough that it doesn't look like it's subtract, you don't have to put parentheses. But a lot of times I do it just to be absolutely certain. Okay, and you get 13 because the positives win by 13. Okay, so try these three on your own and then come back. All right, so going straight across. -3. This is not a subtract, that's a negative. Okay, is that a subtract or a negative? And the answer is yes. It is a subtract, but it becomes -6 when I do that change. Okay, so now there's a subtract, but when I change it, it makes 7 a negative. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3 negatives. I'm just going to add them all up. So I'm going to do the -3 with -7 first is -10 plus -6 is -16. Okay, next one. 6 days. There's a subtract, so we're going to do change. 11 stays. Well, it changed here, right? Okay, so now I'm subtracting a negative. So change. Now I'm adding a positive. And now add those two together any way you want. Okay, I'm just going to go across this way to show you the difference. So these two, the negatives win by 5. And then I bring down plus 15. And now the positives win by 10. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you do it. Just need to change. When I'm doing this choice to add these or to add these, that is basically rearranging the problem without rewriting it. Okay, I'm going to do this without negatives just to show you. If I had, well, let's not even use the same numbers. 1 plus 2 plus 3. And if I chose to add these two first, what I'm basically doing is exchanging these two to get the 3 next to the 1. And then I'm doing order of operations and doing the one that comes first. Okay? So switching things around is the commutative property. Okay? You cannot commute with subtract. Subtract, if I changed the order here and they were subtract, these are not the same, right? 3 minus 2 is 1, 2 minus 3 is -1. They are not the same. So you can't rearrange the order until you know that you're adding. And once I do the change thing, then I'm adding, and I can do them in any order I want. Okay? There are shortcuts that you can use in the future, but for right now, I want you to concentrate on that, okay? All right, so first number always stays. Remember, it's keep, change. It's not just change. Keep the first one. That's your anchor. You don't ever change your anchor, okay? So now we're going to do change because that was a subtract. So I'm going to bring down add 4. And now I'm going to do change, and I'm going to bring down plus -9. Just showing you multiple ways of doing it. Okay, I'm going to combine the negatives, and I get -15. Bring down the 4, and then the negatives win by 11. Okay, hopefully you got them all right, and you can see how your method didn't fit exactly like mine, probably most of the time, and you got the answer right anyway. Okay, this page is really messy and I apologize, but rule for subtract is to either change to add or add the opposite. Those are the two things. Okay, you change it to add by doing change. You leave the first number, change subtract to add, change the sign of the second number. Okay, so you change it to add by doing change. Okay, so that's one thing that I've said quite a few times. You've heard me. Another thing that I've said quite a few times is add the opposite. Either one of those is what I'm going to be saying. You can say your own phrases that you have learned, but I'm going to use those. Okay? Alrighty, you got this. Good luck on your homework. Let me know if you have questions.